Welcome back to another edition of Stock Center, energized by Sunglo. We're here at the World Pork Expo and glad to be talking with Andy Rash. Andy and his family live in Kewanee, Illinois, and have been very, very successful showing bears and gilts all over the country. So Andy, you talked a lot about jackpot, and we're here at the World Pork Expo, and so I know as a family you guys probably sit down. As you get that set of pigs home, we all know that things change and they can be positioned to go to different shows. But as you look at your calendar throughout the year and realize, you know, we're 30 days from World Pork Expo, we're 60 days from NJSA show in Louisville, we're going to Team Purebred or our state fair. Just kind of walk me through positioning and how you do that.
Yeah, you can take, so scheduling. You can take this on a daily basis. You can take this on a pig's life cycle, or you can take it to the show. We'll just touch on all three briefly, but life's busy. Kids these days are involved in activities that require much more than when I was playing sports and showing and younger. So I get up really early, but I feed everything at 5 in the morning. I try to stay on 12-hour increments, and although that it doesn't always work into life, and obviously here we get anxious and we try to feed early or late, but to me that 12-hour trigger is a big deal to train that pig's brain to know this is the time that when that feed is put in the feeder that I'm supposed to respond. So I feed at 5 in the morning. Actually, I don't get home till later in the evening, but the kids will have fed by 5, and we walk post feeding. And the reason we walk post-feeding is I want that pig to experience exercise at home just as they will here. One of the biggest mistakes that's made is they walk empty at home, they exercise, they come in and feed. The pig knows that I'm going to get feed and get a bath, so what do? They run to the barn, right? So you're training that pig that, okay, this is my reward for walking. I'm going to run to the barn. Then they come here and they stuff them full of anything that they will put their mouth on. And then we walk into a 90-degree show ring and we drive them for 15 minutes. We wonder why that pig's gasping for air, why he's winded. Well, you haven't ran the play at home. So we try to run the play at home that we're going to run at the show. So that's a daily schedule. We do give, it's 6 days a week. Once it's go time, it's 6 days a week. We give them Sunday off. Sundays they get their pins picked, they get a bath, and give God his day, and we just study pigs and brush. But 6 days a week, that is the daily schedule. Now it's off a half an hour here or there. Sometimes I have to stop at a grocery store for my wife or something, and we maybe get started a little late. Get to the show, and I fight this. I think we all fight this if you're competitors, is you try to change the routine that you've built this pig accustomed to, right? Yep. So first thing, you get them to the show, you unload them, you hang a feeder and you dump feed in the feeder, and the pig looks at you, what do? I'm running to Sullivan's, I'm gonna go to every feed tin out here, I'm gonna mix as much as I can into this feeder and see if I can't get him to eat. And actually, it's the worst thing you can do, because you're giving a pig's gut basically a big dose of something they've never been exposed to. Typically, it's sugars. We throw sugars at them like crazy because it's sweet, which causes gut issues. And actually, that's probably the worst thing you can do if you're showing Thursday or Wednesday and you arrive at the World Pork Expo on Wednesday or on Sunday. So another interesting schedule is timing the day of the show. So you get to the fairgrounds, kids are excited. Obviously, mom and dad are a little nervous. Check the show schedule. You get the pace on the judge. That's the Caston loves that. He's either going slow or fast, or try to get it on a per class basis. What time is this pig going to hit the show ring, and plan accordingly? That morning, I actually try to do a half to 3/4 of a feeding. Why? Because I want that 3 to 4 hour out, 2 hour out punch to be able to get a little bit more in them. And then hydrate, save room for hydration. Now the pig will tell you what they need, and obviously the breeder or you, if you're capable, or someone that you trust, can give you an evaluation and say more or less, or hey, we're good on fill. But the biggest thing, I want that pig in class to be comfortable. If we can't get through class, and I know that this varies based on the breed and what show you're at, but if we can't get through class on good enough fill, we didn't have the best pig, right? If we can get through class on good enough fill, and I can watch them in the big ring, and I can see what they're doing and see the mannerisms, now we can come back, if given the time, and we can start to prep as we potentially get a chance at a breed champion, or potentially even the whole thing in the end. Especially if you win a breed earlier in the day, be careful, right? If you're an early showing breed, be careful that if you've got one that's a gangster and good enough, give yourself some time, because if you do happen to get through and you're blessed to go to the Grand Drive that evening, there's nothing worse than to have 8 hours or 6 hours laying in a pen and have one that won't eat or drink. it's a helpless feeling, right? I think the most helpless feeling in the world is having a pig that you know is good enough not consumed.
So I know we talked a lot about scheduling and looking out front and where you're going to show and where you're going to take your family. What if you go to a show? Let's use an example, and I'm going to share an example that your family had success with a couple years ago. So you had a Burt Gilt. You bring to the World Pork Expo, and then she's crowned Grand Overall Purebred or Team Purebred Gilt that year. Amazing animal. But in your mind, you're thinking, we want to show her again in 3 weeks at the Team Purebred show in Springfield, Illinois. So you've got her here, and she's maxed, like ready to win the big ring, right? And she did. And then in your mind, you have to take a step back and think, what's the plan for the next 3 weeks? Because you and I both know you can't stay on the same pace.
It's not possible. You know, it's interesting when your family is given the opportunity to show one like that. This sounds really weird and mushy, but it's almost like you owe it to the breeder and you owe it to the pig to get as much mileage out of that animal as possible, right? So you got to go clear back to breeding decisions for the breeder's sake. So that one's a good example of where we had one of those that it's just hard to make. So coming into Expo, you know, when we had her maxed out, I remember her diet like it was yesterday. She was on half 8-11, half 16, oats, game on, and come to the show. She stayed the course. Actually, that's a unique individual. She ate dry feed her entire life. You know, she got to the show. She peaked. She goes in the ring, looks great. And then on the way home, it hits you. We're going to do this again in 3 weeks at another national event. And go back to my previous comment. We owe it to the breeder. You owe it to the pig that when you get a special one, to give it your all. So we came home and she had enough fluff on her that we needed to be careful. She wasn't a giant in stature, right? She wasn't, you know, one that I would consider extremely lean. You know, she had some fluff on her. So actually I stripped her down, and I did that, you know, with 16 oats and a little sow feed. And I did that for about a week.
Which was prior to Coast.
Yep, prior to Coast.
Yep.
So that was actually a year prior to Coast. Actually, it's probably a lot of the conversation for Coast between you and I, you know, was around, you know, how do we take a show feed that still keeps freshness, but strip them down. And honestly, we peeled her back down to the basics. You know, if you'd have seen her at our place a week and a half, 2 weeks after Expo, you would have seen one that shot up about 2 inches in size. You would have seen one that peeled some of that flesh she had that was back in through her flank. You know, she even cleaned up a little bit into her throat. I actually put a little Star Glow in her feed. I put 4 ounces of Star Glow in with a lower protein and just let it all peel off. When we came back swinging with a week and a half left, and it was hard for me not to do it earlier, but I just said, this is the day that we're going to do it, and I'd figured her out. When we came back swinging with 8, 11, and 16, I didn't think I'd ever say this, she actually got better than when she was at the World Pork Expo.
I agree.
You know, and I still remember when I unloaded, you were standing there, we pinned next to each other, and you said, I don't know how this happened, but I think she's better than she was in Des Moines. And to be honest, most of the heavy lifting was done by her, but if I wouldn't have stripped that one down and just let her relax and eat pig food and studied health and went back at it again aggressively, we would have never done it twice.
Yep. Well, again, Andy, we appreciate your expertise and your opinions and some great information to share with families. And I think the take home for me is that sometimes you just got to keep it simple. Feeding show pigs is an art. We know that, but sometimes the reason that the basics work are because the basics are built by industry leaders, right? Again, thanks for taking time here at the World Pork Expo. Good luck to your family this week, and we appreciate your business.
Thank you very much.
This is a Walton Webcasting production. Livestock like you've never seen before.